State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
The program is State Affairs. I am Edmondo Bilo. My guest is the Director of Publicity and Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum. I'm talking about Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed. Dr. Baba-Ahmed, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much, Edmund. It's good to be here.
Let's look at leadership in Nigeria since independence. Why has Nigeria been this unlucky? Why is Nigeria lacking visionary leadership?
I would say that the process of developing the democratic process and by implication allowing the democratic process to produce leaders who are good and accountable and replaceable was truncated by the military intervention of 1966. I think we started fairly well from 1960 to 1966. We had problems, but like everything new, it was bound to happen. From the moment the military decided to come in, military has no capacity to govern. They don't know anything about managing complexity, heterogeneity. They just simply create a country that reflects their image. It's a command system, it's orders and instructions. And substantially, they made terrible mistakes. The management of the country after the murder, the killings of January 66, then the counter coup of 1967, then the civil war, then the post-election. The military stay in power dwarfed the democratic process, set it back. And by the time they were through, largely because they themselves realized that they were running they had nothing. Nigerians were literally saying, you guys have no business running this country. You've run it aground. They had also succeeded in literally destroying the political class. So what the people who took over from the military were more or less people who grew up under a political culture that just simply treats power as a goal in itself, not necessarily as an end to a means, as a means to an end. Military didn't just leave. They also had to put one of their own, President Obasanjo, for another 8 years. Now, President Obasanjo, there was only a 2-year break, about 6 years break, during the time when the military, either in uniform or outside uniform, were not ruling this country. Eradua served for 2 years. He was a civilian, you could say a thorough civilian, even though, of course, he had links with another military person, his senior brother. Then Jonathan for 4 years, and then another former military man took over and behaved, ran the country like a military officer would, but this one didn't care about his command. So if you look thoroughly at why Nigeria has failed to create a visionary leadership, you're likely to find the answer in the dominance and the perversion of the political culture and the political environment by a military who was incapable of creating vision, was not interested in creating vision, was just simply interested in keeping power. And the problem with that kind of thing is that anybody who has more ambition than you will take that power away from you. So our democratic process was set back. Our elite selection process was interrupted and perverted. And we're still grappling with the effects of the military on our lives. Look at the kind of people we produce now at state level. Governors who have no business becoming governors. Nothing has prepared 80% of the people who are governors to govern. They had money. So that's the only qualification they had. You go to the National Assembly and see the kind of people who make laws for us. All they had is money or connections or godfathers. They know nothing about governance. Nothing has prepared them. They had no background in political activism or political involvement. So they know nothing about accountability. They know nothing about creating vision, mobilizing people, working with people. Our politicians are just simply after power. They are not about governing to change and affect the lives of people.
You have highlighted the involvement of the military. What about the social structure of the Nigerian state? It's connected to the culture, religion, and the ethnic fragmentation that has kept the people apart.
I would say that again, it's a good leader would first understand the complex nature of the Nigerian state. That we're made up of different people with different cultures. We have more or less the same value systems. We all believe there's a right way of doing things and the wrong way of doing things. We believe in God. We believe that it is good to follow leaders, and we believe, even more importantly, that leaders must do the right thing by their people. But we are also ethnic. We speak different languages. We worship different gods. But that is not in itself a liability. Where it becomes a problem is where you have leadership that does not pay attention to the fact that our differences and our divergence, if not well managed, can create very serious problems in terms of the management of the cultural nature of the plural nature of Nigeria. If you have a leader, for instance, who would say, look, as far as I'm concerned, one part of the country gave me 5% of their votes, and they have no right to complain about how I treat them. You have a very serious problem with them. They will say, okay, we don't have anything to do with you. The people who drafted the Constitution, this current Constitution, they were not entirely idiots. I mean, some of them must have had a lot of vision. They insisted that you can't become a president of Nigeria unless you have 25% of the votes, valid votes cast in 24 states out of 36. That means you must get votes from the southeast, from the south-south, from the southwest, from the north, before you become a president. If it's a governor, you must get votes from 2/3 of their local government, which means you can't just be an ethnic champion or a religious champion from one part of the country, one part of it. That is not an ideal provision. It attempts to address the heart of our pluralism. And it says, look, you want a president who at least enjoys some level of national support, not ethnic support, not religious support. Now, if you are the beneficiary of the votes of 2/3 of Nigerians, then clearly you cannot ignore a part of the country or ignore grievances in a part of the country because you have issues, political issues with them. You can't run a government purely on the basis of what you want, who you want to see around you. You cannot do that. So when you don't manage our pluralism, when you do not accord priority to issues like national character, injustice, and those kind of things, make sure that every part of Nigeria has some kind of representation in what you do. Make sure that you do not isolate or discriminate against a part of Nigeria. Then, when there is a problem in a part of the country, that part of the country, you need to say, what is going on? Before you throw the military and the police at people, there's restiveness, there's anger, there's frustration, there is organized crime. Try and understand what's causing it. Is it possible that this has to do with the way you're running the country, or your agents? Your policing system has broken down. Your judicial system has broken down. You have issues with the economy. Too many young people are unemployed. You need a leader who would take cognizance of this. It's not a tribal thing. It can't be a cultural thing. So I think the problem is that we have, in the last 10, 20 years, we have allowed poor governance has created opportunities for some of these tendencies that ought to have been harnessed and channeled towards building one country where at least we have one Nigerian citizen. He feels comfortable wherever he is. He knows that he can get justice irrespective of where he or she is, and that he has a leader who really recognizes the fact that he may be living in Gusau in Zamfara State, but he has the same right as the person who lives in Nnewi in this country. So it's bad leadership that causes this problem. And you need a good leader who recognizes the cultural and plural nature of Nigeria, go out of his way to rebuild the elements that are drifting away from each other. And then say to Nigerians, listen, we're going to have to recover this country. And the way to do it is for everybody to push. We must lower hostility. We must lower this stereotyping we're doing. It's we against them. It's we as our own way or nothing.
So are you linking bad governance to the call for Biafra in the southeast?
We've always known about Maso. We knew about the Biafran War. This was 30, 40 years ago. After 1970, 1973, effectively all the way to the 80s. Just think, we fought a war between 1967 and 1970. And the war came to an end. Then we began a process of reconstruction and rehabilitation, the 3 Rs. Within 9 years, an Igbo person had become the vice president to a northerner who had become a president in 9 years. That was the degree of reintegration of the Igbo into Nigeria. You had Igbo senators. The person who led the coup, who led the rebellion in this country, contested for the presidency of Nigeria when he came back from exile, and remained active in Nigerian politics all the way until he died, as Ojukwu. So you can say, from, the middle 1970s to all the way to about 1999, the issue about Biafra was practically dead. It died both in the minds of people and in terms of the political environment in which Nigeria was. The Igbo were effectively integrated politically. They were all over the country, earning a living, living like everybody else in this country. So you have to ask yourself, what happened? What went wrong? How is it that in the last decade we began to hear about Biafra and Masov and Kanu and IPOB? You cannot understand it unless you see some kind of evidence of poor governance. And this poor governance starts from the governors. Some of the worst governors in the country are Southeast governors. People don't like to hear this. You want to see the evidence of poor governance? Go there and see. See what the people do. There are bad governors everywhere. We have terrible governors in the north. But poor governance by the governors, refusal to use public funds properly on the lives of people, infrastructure and education was responsible. Insecurity became rampant, and nobody is fooled by this excuse that security belongs to the federal government. It doesn't. Governors have a huge responsibility for that. So key elements of life in the Southeast began to drift away from the Southeast. People started investing outside the Southeast. A lot of people left the Southeast to go to other parts of Nigeria to pursue their living. The vacuum was taken up by people who were aggrieved or frustrated or angry or bitter. And you began to see people with this kind of rhetoric that maybe we're better off outside this country. And a lot of people who knew nothing about history, who knew nothing about the Biafra crisis, began to say, well, let's go back to the Biafra agenda. We are better off outside this country. And there is no basis for justifying that as than simply that Nigeria is not doing right by us. Nigeria is not doing right by everybody. Every part of this country has a grievance against the Nigerian state. But and at the national level, you had a leadership that took its eyes off the Southeast issue. The Biafra cause needed to have been interrogated in terms of its roots. What is making this Biafra issue persistent and in some ways popular? What is wrong? Who or what is giving it some kind of life? Is it related with the way governance takes place? Where are these people getting this inspiration from? Where is this frustration coming from? You needed to understand that so that you can deal with the problem and deal with it holistically and comprehensively. No one did this. Governors started running away from the problem. Federal government thought it was the kind of thing you would send police and after it and after a while it would die. You arrest one person and you prosecute this one and you prosecute this one. And we lost it. And the real champions of the Biafra cause are not the ones running the Biafra cause. Then pockets of criminals and people with crime and guns took over. When you talk to anybody from the Southeast today who really knows what's going on, and you say IPOB, they will say, oh, well, those people are just expressing frustrations and anger. They are not interested in secession. They are not terrorists. They are not, they are just, IPOB has become a bandwagon word for everything that is frustrating and the decay in the Southeast. There may be criminal elements among them, but they are well-meaning. Can you be well-meaning if you can take over 5 states and tell everybody to stay at home on Monday? And you destroy an economy, you destroy education of people, you make the formal government and leadership of the Southeast completely irrelevant in terms of what they do. Governors have to just negotiate with you before they breathe. But something is wrong.
Do you think IPOB is a terrorist organization?
My definition of a terrorist organization may not be consistent with the fine points of the law, but anybody who uses terror to achieve a political end is a terrorist. And to that degree, IPOB is involved in terrorist activities.
But they have consistently said they are not involved, that those involved are unknown gunmen.
Well, this unknown government has become the excuse for everything else that goes wrong in this country. We've seen IPOB. They don't even hide their faces. Any security person can point out to you who is involved in IPOB activities and who is not. Look, it's not. There are no spirits that are doing the work of IPOB in the Southeast. We are not children. And they know that the people know them. Who keeps people at home on Mondays? Who stops political activities? Who's insisting that certain things cannot happen in that place? Is it spirits? Please. These are human beings. They are known. If they are not known to the government, then something is very seriously wrong with this government. We know there are many things wrong with this government, but if IPOB itself cannot absolve itself from harboring or actually undertaking terrorist activities. As far as concerned, that's the way we see it here.
You know, Ohanaeze Ndigbo at a time called for your arrest for advising that the Igbo should leave Nigeria.
You know, the man that released that statement has now been disowned by Ohanaeze Ndigbo as not their secretary. But let's even assume that it was Ohanaeze Ndigbo that released that statement, that a Nigerian should be deported for falsely saying that Igbo should leave. What I said was part of a statement of the Northern Elders Forum that said that if every Igbo in Nigeria has agreed that the Igbo is better off outside Nigeria, and this is not what we want in the North, we don't think that is the best position. But if there is unanimity among all Igbos that their fate and their fortunes depend on leaving Nigeria, then please don't fight another war over it. Every part of Nigeria can also say we don't want to be part of Nigeria. It's not an Igbo have no monopoly on saying they don't want to be part of Nigeria. What we said is open the door for them to go. So you don't fight a war over this. But we know that not all Igbos want to leave Nigeria. In fact, very few Igbos genuinely who understand what leaving Nigeria is want to leave Nigeria. But we said if Igbos want to leave Nigeria, then Nigeria should not stand in their way. We said this almost 2 years ago. The video was vandalized and clipped here and there, and a few months ago it resurfaced, and a man, Isuguzo or whatever, who has now been disowned by Ohanaeze Ndigbo, released a statement that I represent a security threat. If I did, I assure you by now I will not be talking to you. They would have picked me up and locked me up. Nobody has approached me. And, you can't deport me from my own country for saying what I believe is is the right thing. It is the right thing to say that if every Igbo man agrees that the best route for Igbo people is to leave Nigeria, why should you argue with it?
But when they say deport Hakeem Baba-Ahmed to where?
I should have asked the man who said so. I don't know where they would deport me to. They said that my father came from Mauritania, and so I should be taken back to Mauritania. As far as I know, I'm Nigerian, as Nigerian as he has. If you take me back to Nigeria, to Mauritania today, I'll come back tomorrow. And I will sue whoever deports me. It's childish. This kind of thing don't bother me. I don't think they should bother anybody. And I think that there are quite a number of people in the leadership of Highness Indigo who were embarrassed by this kind of statement. But that's their problem. If they can't stop some people from speaking for them, that's their problem, not mine.
But was your father from Mauritania?
Yes, my father was from Mauritania, and I'm very, 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 very free to say so. My father came to Nigeria in 1920, made Nigeria his home, served Nigeria with all his life. He died here at the age of 101. He created a huge family of Nigerians who love this country, as passionately as any other Nigerian. And we are very proud to be Nigerians. And we will never hide our pedigree or our origin. We are Nigerians. If anybody doubts whether we are Nigerians or not, that's their problem. Let them prove that we are not Nigerians. But we don't waste our time telling people we are not Nigerians. What we are, who we are, and what we are doing for this country is enough. But we don't hide our pedigree. We are very proud of our father. We are proud of what he did in this country, and we are proud of what we are doing in this country.
Is Dati Baba-Ahmed, the running mate to Peter Obi, your brother?
Yes, he's my younger brother. That's why he bears the name Baba-Ahmed.
Does that mean you are supporting Peter Obi?
It means Dati is my younger brother, and he has a right to be on the ticket of Peter Obi, and they are selling a brand of leadership to Nigerians that I would advise Nigerians to look at very critically, the same way they will look at other candidates' pitch very clearly.
Dr. Baba-Ahmed, you tweeted saying, I spent valuable time with Mr. Peter Obi this morning. I wish those who see him as an ethnic candidate can get to know him better. I also wish those who try to sell him will tone down his ethnic identity. I hope the nation will see the candidate up close and could see a revolution. A revolution. What does that mean?
Yes, I did. Exactly what I said. I had a meeting. Peter Obi came to my house. We spent about 3 hours. We spoke about everything, including his ambition and what he wanted to do, and he impressed me. I had known him before. And I tweeted on my own that what my impression was. I wanted Nigerians to know I met a person who impressed me. And there is nothing about Peter Obi in the things we discussed and what he told me he would do if he's president that suggested that he's going to be an Igbo president or a Christian president. And I said those who really genuinely want this man to be president should not sell him as an Igbo candidate or a Christian candidate. And I also said wish the Nigerians should do what we're doing now, scrutinize every candidate. And that's exactly what we're doing. When we started this interview with you, I told you, the Elders Forum is involved in looking at every candidate, including Peter Obi. And thank God, what I said 6-7 months ago is what the Northern Elders Forum and other groups in the North are doing. We are looking at these candidates very critically, and we will take a decision in terms of who we think represents the best choice for Nigerians.
Some have quoted the leader of the Northern Elders Forum, Professor Ango Abdullahi, as stating that the People's Democratic Party candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and the APC candidate, Bola Tinubu, cannot fix Nigeria's challenges. Can that be interpreted that the forum is supporting somebody outside the two major political parties?
Well, one of the beauties of our forum is that we have a tradition for allowing members to express opinions. And we also have a space for allowing the forum to speak as a forum. What Professor Ango Abdullahi said was an opinion of his. And the position of the Northern Elders Forum is that we are looking at these candidates very critically. We are putting all the indices of leadership on the table. We're providing a level playing field, and we will take a decision at the right time.
Before we go, are you a member of the People's Redemption Party?
Yes, I am.
So
I hope you notice how quickly I answered that.
So you are not apolitical?
No. And I don't hope, I hope no Nigerian is apolitical. Because to be apolitical is not to believe in God under our present circumstances. Please. If you are apolitical, move away from there. Join some kind of political activity. It is now next to the worship of God. You must get involved in politics. Being apolitical is irresponsible. It's irresponsible. Nigeria has been brought down because of poor politics, and it can only be salvaged if all of us get involved politically. I've never been apolitical, and I hope until I die, I will be involved in politics.
What does it feel like being an associate professor in politics and public administration?
It feels great. I like teaching. I teach in 3 universities. I teach young people. I like teaching young people. I like sharing with them ideas and thoughts, and I like grooming their minds to believe in this country. I'm hoping that I can help to mold minds of positive thinking, the young Nigerians who will grow up thinking maybe not everything is not lost. Maybe there's some hope. And I genuinely like teaching, and I hope they don't stop me from teaching because I'm too old.
Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed, thank you for featuring on State Affairs.
Oh, thank you very much, Edmund, and it was great speaking with you. And thank you for your wonderful marshalling of the Fela Symposium. Thank you.